From a hazard point of view, in addition to probably get into some of the benefits of solar panels as well. Going to be a little bit of a presentation, then we'll do some question and answers. There is coffee that just came out just now, so if anyone wants coffee tonight, help themselves, as well as soda and so on in the back, and there will be some food afterward. Tonight we are joined by Monolith, Steve Irby, and Tyler Justin. They do solar panels through NYSERDA, the program there for quite a variety of different companies. I'm sure they'll be able to tell you a little more about that. So without any further ado, I will turn the floor over to them.
Sure.
Hello everyone.
As you said, I'm Steve Irby, Tyler Justin. We do mainly commercial installations. We do residential also, but usually it's the building inspector's house or the bank president, someone who came into contact with us. We did my house. Tyler did his own house out on a remote location. So 99% of what we do is commercial installations like this one. Across the street, some of you have probably noticed the KeyBank structure that's going on. That's a huge carport system, freestanding solar we call it, because their roofs are too small. They consume a ton of energy and they just don't have the roof space to support the amount of solar that they need. So what they're going to do there is use it as a carport with a possible PV charging station, which is another issue we'll want to address with you guys as far as what to do if we respond and there's cars up to the PV station. So it's an industry that's booming. This year alone, they're estimating $500 billion will be spent in solar worldwide. The rest of the world is leading the way. We invented this technology once upon a time, much like wind energy. But we kind of let it go because it was too easy to build a nuclear power plant or to consume fossil fuels. We're starting to realize the errors of our ways. When they want to bore a hole in the mountains to store nuclear waste for 100 years while we think about what to do with it for 5,000 years. People are starting to realize that we have to look for other alternatives. So you guys are going to encounter this more and more every day. It's going to be not just the commercials, but the residential systems that you can use.
So Monolith, we specialize in grid-type solar electric systems. So that means that there are no batteries. We're not storing any energy. Any energy that's produced is going right out to the grid. So either you're using it in your own house or your neighbor's using it, but it's always moving out. We're never holding on to it. So you can see here in our photo, we have our DC power that's going to come from the panels on the roof, come down to an inverter, which is changing it over to match the power that's on the grid, so 208 three-phase, whatever you got going on. And then it's going to go to the circuit panel. So there's a load in your house, so it'll go into the house. But if not, it's going to go out and go through a utility meter and go on, out into the grid, like I said, to your neighbor, you don't know. So no matter what, the system's always producing. Whether there's somebody home or not, if all the lights are off and there's nobody around, the system's still working and it's still live. I met with a few of you this afternoon, and I was just kind of drilling this whole other thing. I'm going to keep saying this: the system's always live, no matter what. You cannot shut it down. So you see these panels up on the roof. You just got to be cognitive of the fact that this is a loaded gun. You can't turn it off no matter what. So you're always going to be dealing with that AC or that DC power rather on the roof. Now after the inverter, this is the point where we have control. So we can shut it down. We can stop the power at that point. But still, even if I shut this inverter down, there's still power in this section of the system. So that's the biggest thing that we're going to go over probably 20 times tonight. Just keep kind of driving it home, is that the DC side is always on. Even if you cut a wire, the circuit's still live. And whatever it takes to make the gap, it's going to try to jump. It's a decent amount of power. So on some of our larger commercial systems, we're running up to 600 volts DC per string. So in some of these systems, Jack Fern Ford has 40 strings. So there's a lot of power moving around up there, for sure. And also, please ask any questions as they come. Just interrupt me, throw up your hand or something, and just ask, because I don't know what you don't know or what you know.
So, the thing Tyler was saying, you can't shut these down. We laid them face down in a dark garage, and they're still generating power. It's a minute amount, but they are generating power. For you guys coming in, the first thing you do is light the building up. If it's midnight, you just energize the system, so it's now live. If it was asleep and the inverters were shut down, the inverters are looking for a minute amount of amperage. Once that amperage is generated, the inverters go, oh, it's morning, and they start popping on. In about 5 minutes, they're going to start generating power. A flashlight onto this module is enough to generate amps. It might not be enough to wake the inverter, but it is generating amperage.
So again, on the DC side, even if it's the tiniest bit of light, the system's still live. It's going to try to go. But on the AC side, it's going to wait until it reaches a certain point until it turns on. Something that's really important to understand about the inverters and what's happening with the AC and DC power here is that these inverters have what's called anti-islanding built into them, right? So the fear is that somebody might hit a telephone pole out in front of the fire station right here, right? You guys have your brand new solar system on the roof, and things are going great. So we're feeding energy back into the system, right? So if somebody hits that pole without anti-islanding, you'd be still pumping power into the system. But as soon as the AC power goes out from losing the grid over on that side, the inverters are automatically going to shut off. And they will cease to produce power. So if you lose power on the grid, you lose your solar power. The DC side is still live, I'm going to say that again and again, but the AC's production has stopped. So that's a little kind of safety mechanism that's built into these things, so that you're not going out there as a linesman thinking that, oh yeah, I shut the system off, everything's fine. Oh wait, there's still something feeding back into it that I didn't know about. So they've solved that issue with having an automatic switch in these things that we test on every system, and have to document exactly how long it takes and everything. It's pretty tightly regulated. So then after you lose AC power, right, and the system drops out. So the DC is still on, but we're not putting anything back into the grid or the building. Then, after the linesman does whatever he's got to do and fixes the problem, and we have AC power coming back into the building again, the inverters are going to go into a waiting mode for 5 minutes to make sure that it's a constant stream of power, everything's good, and then they're going to turn on and begin power production again. And that's all automated. It's going to do that on its own. So something that we talked about this afternoon as well is that in any case, we decided sort of the best thing to do is to locate the inverter first and find the box, right? And we usually make our connection near the just electrical service in the building, whether it's usually in a utility room, something like that. Sometimes we put all the inverters inside there. On towards our commercial side of things, we try to go outside with a lot of the equipment. So the inverters will be sitting on a pad out back.
But typically where the power line comes in from the street is where you're going to find the inverter. We want
As close as possible to that.
We want to be close because we lose power the further we go away. We get line loss. So we typically try to locate the inverters right where the meter is coming in from the street. And as Tyler said, we're trying to develop a system. There are really no standards right now. We want to develop a system from a lot of things we've learned from different firehouses. We want to put placards up on the front door that says, this building's being powered by other than the grid or from an alternate source of energy. One idea I got from Rensselaer Firehouse was that in most commercial buildings have a sprinkler system. And they suggested we put a placard there to identify when you guys are going to hook up your hoses that this building is supplied with solar power. On the ground, you might not be able to see the roof, and we want to make sure that you guys know that there's another source of energy coming into this building. So those are some of the things you're going to see as the industry develops. I think you're going to see more and more standards coming into play.
So this is what an inverter looks like. This thing is, I don't know, it's about like a small mini fridge kind of size, a little narrower than that. And on the bottom of all of our inverters that we use some sort of DC disconnect. So this allows you to shut down any power coming down from the roof. So basically there's a main AC disconnect, and then there's the DC disconnect. So everything is isolated. And that's going to be labeled and also
Do they look like that industry-wide? Everybody's focusing
No,
on
there's a lot of different ones, but we use a lot of SMA ourselves, but there's tons of different kinds. I mean, definitely, and that's again, we're going to try to kind of develop a better program for you guys as we learn more about what's out there and the different technologies. You know, I'm trying to share those things with you guys as
A
well.
lot of them will look like a transformer.
Yeah.
That you would see a National Grid transformer, it'd be sitting on a pad, but it's definitely going to be labeled with a big warning letter.
Yeah, it's going to, PV power production, whatever. There's going to be a large label.
This will have several stickers on it stating how many strings are coming into it, how much power is being generated. Also warnings that this is
High voltage,
power.
Does it take any time to shut those off?
Just click, click, click.
Yeah,
That's
select
just,
switch.
yeah. So yeah, you can get an idea of, this is coming into a residential system here. So we have the line, the DC line coming in from the roof here, through DC disconnect here, and then into, actually no, that's your summary pump, sorry.
That's two DC.
And then your inverter, and then going out through a meter and out to the grid. So yeah, something like that switch would be right here with a knob, turn it off there, and then you could cut the other DC disconnect here.
But even after throwing that DC disconnect, everything from there to the roof is hot, and it will kill you. It's very, very high voltage. And the amps coming out of this about 40 amps, which I think they say 10 is enough to stop the human heart.
I think even one.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very, very little.
They don't need much.
So this is an example of a residential system. So now, with this example, I know we've talked a lot about venting. I mean, that's obviously an issue. So if this thing's going up in flames and you need to vent this side of the roof, how do we solve that? What do we do? The panel's glass, you could break it, but when you break it, you're exposing yourself to a live circuit, again, breaking through that. So
We don't recommend.
I wouldn't recommend breaking it, but if you had to, you could. But we obviously
The best
suggest
course
go
here
to the
though
other.
would be, if this roof needs to be vented, one of the two sides is about 2.5 feet on each side. There's also about 2.5 feet along the top. This photo kind of got stretched, but there's 2.5 feet along the bottom. The best case scenario would be to vent there. I would highly discourage opening up this solar panel.
On an angled roof system like this, the panels are all attached to a racking system. It's hard to attach to the roof. I mean, there's a lot of metal in there and whatever. It'd be pretty difficult to get through.
Right. Go ahead, Tim.
Is there any way when you're doing roofs such as that to stay down at least 4 feet from the top to assist us doing that?
It's something we're changing as we
Because
do more and more.
if you do, we usually go to the top.
Okay.
So if you could leave us 4 feet
Right.
all the way across, then that would solve our problem.
See,
There probably wouldn't be enough panels for you people, but it'd be a help
Well,
for us.
Originally, my idea was, hey, just go into the north side. Can you go back?
Yeah.
And then, I've learned from talking to firemen that we want to bend over the fire, not away from it, and spread it. That was something I was naive about. So we've adjusted our commercial systems now will have an egress. Like we're doing this Schenectady County ice rink. There's enough room to drive a fire truck in between these arrays.
Yeah, we were gonna, we could have just made one solid block basically and use 3/4 of the roof or whatever, but we took it and just broke it up into sections now so that there's walkways all around everything. And that's something that we're including in basically all of our designs moving forward now.
But you'll still never be able to vent under the solar system.
Right, under this particular style, yeah.
You said that room and someone will fit, where you can lift them up.
Well, I'll show you on the ballast system, right? So like, here's a flat roof ballast system, right? So these panels are just sitting up here on the roof, held down with the collective weight of all these little blocks, right? Each panel has a little bracket that it's hooked into here. So you can undo a bolt here and here and just tip this panel up. And there's also about 2.5 feet in between these panels that where you can actually walk up and down these roads. And there's,
And that's
access to the roof right there too.
That's the safest course in those alleyways. This is a library, and unfortunately, when you pull up on the street, you will never know that there's solar on the roof.
And you can't see it at all.
Because the tilt on these is about 10 degrees, and we do that so that the wind can't pick them up and basically create